Hey guys, welcome back to the garage, and unfortunately I'm not riding. This is the end of the season, so you know, it's been a great year for riding for me. I hope you guys all had an awesome season out on the trails this year, and wanted to get back to doing some review videos for you. So one of our favorite topics we're going to cover today is a helmet review. We've got all kind of the top model helmets here that are available for trail riders. Yes, we go out, we buy them all, and we are crazy. It's a lot of money on the table here in terms of helmets, but what we're going to do is cover off some of the pros and cons. Through all of my riding this year, I was able to kind of go through and test most of these helmets. Now, you will remember from a previous video, and we'll put the link in this video, we did a really in-depth overview video last year on the BRP Oxygen Carbon as well as the Mission Carbon. So for the purposes of today's video, I'm not going to focus too much detail around them because you can go ahead and watch that one. But what I will do is, we've got two new entries into the market this year, which is the BRP Advex, and we've got the 509 Delta Commander helmet as well in the Carbon Edition. So we're going to cover those in a little bit more depth in this video. And again, the purpose of the video is really not to give you guys a, who's the winner out of all of these helmets. There's a lot of chatter every year online about what's the best helmet out there. And again, we always kind of say the same thing. We want to bring you guys as much information as we can as possible by trying these helmets and putting them, in the field and to the test. And you guys make your own decisions on what works the best for you. Jesse and I do the same thing for what works best for, for each of us and what we prefer. And it's really no different. There really isn't going to be sort of a clear winner. So if that's what you're hoping for from this video, you're not going to get it. What I will give you is, as much information and experience that I had with these helmets throughout the season. I put on a lot of K this year. I'm up to about 7,000 K for the season between my two sleds. I put a ton of time at the beginning of the season on this 509, and kind of mid to end season, I put a lot of time on this Advex helmet, and then always have a lot of miles on our BRP Oxygens. The one helmet I did not use this year, I will admit, is the Mission, but you guys know last year that I did run it quite a bit. So let's get into it. As usual, I'm going to start with the first category, which is weight. And interestingly enough, I was doing some Googling, and I think we even talked about it in our BRP and Mission video. The weights of these helmets, they should be pretty similar. And I'll take a page out of Luke Lester and AJ Lester's book this year, and I was fortunate enough to spend some time with Luke at the 2025 launch this year. And one of my favorite videos that they typically release every year, and they put one out last week, is when they actually take the sleds and they weigh them. So I was actually quite curious, because to me, I actually felt like for some reason this 509 helmet felt like really, really super light on my head. Now I know they're all supposed to be pretty close to each other, but I thought what we do is I actually got my handy dandy crane scale, and I use this for fishing. It's the most accurate. This is a tournament series type scale that they use. So I know it's dead accurate because I've weighed with it before. And let's see what these helmets actually weigh. First helmet is going to be the BRP Advex helmet. This one's 4.6 pounds. Next one will be my BRP Carbon. 4 pounds. Next one's going to be the CKX Mission Carbon. That's 4.6 pounds. And the last one, which, I don't know. I mean, I thought this helmet was super light when I tried it. Let's see what it weighs. 4.8 pounds for the 509 Carbon. So, they're all pretty close to each other as far as weight. I mean, realistically, you're not going to notice the difference, when it's on your head for the most part, but they are all pretty close to each other in terms of weight. So, I mean, if you were ever curious, there you go. Those are the, the weights according to my fish scale. Now, the next thing that we typically look at is, the cost of the helmet's a big one for consumers. Now, the two helmets that we added again this year, we went into the dealership this year to buy the Advex. And this helmet, for anybody who goes in and buys this at retail price, you're looking at about $1,200 for the Advex for their premium model helmet. They have two different models. There's a Sport and then there's the Radiant, which is this one. So this one comes in at about $1,200. Now, when I went to go pay at the cash register and I opened up the box, I thought it had integrated comms and came with the Vibe system, and it doesn't. So this was a huge surprise to me at the beginning of the season when I went to pick up this helmet. You actually need to purchase the Vibe system, which is gonna be another additional $500. So you're looking at like $1,700 without getting any deals at all from your dealer, MSRP, on this helmet. That's crazy. We bought it anyway because we're nuts and we had to try it. So that's what you're gonna be looking at in terms of price, and it's by far the most expensive helmet from the bunch. We picked up the 509 Carbon at the beginning of the season. This one comes in at around $900 Canadian for the Carbon helmet, and it does have integrated comms. So there's an integrated cardo in this helmet. You don't need to buy comms separately. You know, your Oxygen Carbon, I've heard they've got deals on these that have been going because it's been out for a couple of years now. Original retail, the helmet was around, I want to say it was around $1,100 when it first came out last year with the Carbon helmet. And again, you're going to add your comms on top of that, whatever you buy. For us, we've been running, as you know, if you've watched any of our videos in the past, we love cardos. So we've been running the cardo with this setup, as well as with our Mission setup as well. The Mission, from what I remember, going to run around the same price. It's probably more around the $900 mark. And again, a lot of these helmets, you can get them on sale. Just watch for the deals. So that's, as far as price, I mean, this was a sticker shock for sure with the Advex. It's a pricey helmet. You know, and then, like I said, the 509 was definitely up there, but that one actually does come with the comms. So just to give you an idea what you're looking at as far as pricing is concerned. Now, as far as comfort goes, that's, you know, probably the number one thing that people are looking for is, you know, when you first put on the helmet, you want to make sure it's comfortable. I talked last year a lot on the Oxygen and Mission video. You know, for my head in particular, the Mission actually felt like a better fit. For Jesse's head, he felt like the design of the BRP Oxygen was a better fit for his head. I absolutely loved the fit of the Advex this year. This is an awesome fitting helmet for my head. I felt like the cheek pads were really, really thick and super comfortable. And just overall fit, it's, you know, size-wise, it's pretty much the same. I'm taking an XL in all of these helmets. For me, it was a great fitting helmet and absolutely love the way that it feels. And I'll get into a little bit more of the specifics in this one in a second. Same with the 509 too. This I felt like was a good fitting helmet for me. The one thing you will notice, it doesn't have the same kind of padding or as soft a padding when you put this helmet on, you use it compared to the BRP. So comfortable, just not as comfortable, I would say. For me, again, as far as these two helmets go, or even the Mission. So out of all four of them, kind of least comfortable for me was probably going to be, I would say, the 509 and the Mission, and the most comfortable by far has been the Advex for me, for sure. As far as like design goes with these helmets, they all kind of have their own unique features. And what I will do is spend some time talking about the Advex and the 509 in a little bit more detail. One of the big things I talked about that I didn't like last year around the Oxygen helmets was the fact that it didn't have a peak. Now this helmet actually comes with a built-in peak, which is great. So again, BRP listening to the consumers. I think this is, again, one of the best features you can have on a helmet. It was one of the things that I really liked about the Mission helmet. So again, when you're riding into the sun at kind of the back half of your day, you put your head down a little bit and you can block the sun out entirely. I thought that was actually a really, really nice addition for this helmet. It's also got an integrated flip down sun visor as well. So you can drop that down just like your Oxygen has, and it goes back up with ease. I also talked a little bit about just the ease of deploying it with this lever on the side of the helmet. I really, really prefer that design over the Mission, which I always found I had to try to find that slider on the back in order to get the sun visor down. Now for me, huge downfall with the 509 helmet, there's no peak and there's also no sun visor. So you're kind of dealing with again, that back half of the day, you're gonna be struggling. I remember when we were in Mont Valin at the beginning of the year, I actually was holding my hand up to sort of block out the sun with this helmet. It was a huge pain for me, and it's a big problem, I think, for most trail riders, and just something that I don't know why, but they certainly overlooked it. And what you do see though is I did pick up another lens for it, by far the coolest looking lens from all these helmets. I didn't get a chance to run it, but these lenses, when you do put them over top, will add a kind of a layer of tint to the shield, which should definitely help as far as sun glare at all. And again, I've got the one for the Mission, which you can see here, to really help with that. And again, it's a huge thing for trail riders, right? When you get those bluebird days, you want to make sure that you can see when you're riding into the sun. So that was a huge thing for me. And I think BRP did a great job with the Advex helmet in general, and in terms of covering those two areas. It was great to see. Huge improvement, I would say, and step up as far as the oxygen. A couple of the other things are around the designs of the helmet. For me personally, as far as looks, and again, it's going to be different for everybody, this is the coolest looking and best looking snowmobile helmet I've seen on the market. I think they just nailed it because it's super sleek. This almost reminds me of like a really high-end motorcycle, like a Shoei helmet. I love how they've kind of narrowed it down in the front. They've got these really cool vents in the front that drive the airflow out the back of the helmet. They've got this awesome kind of peak on the back as well, where that integrated chase light is. I mean, this helmet is gorgeous. It's beautiful. It's not flat black either. In terms of the other carbon fiber designs, they actually went with the really nice, shinier black and carbon fiber look to it. I really like this, the look of this helmet overall in comparison to all of them. And I think for me, you add that, really cool option. They've got 5 different visors that you can get for different color visors, which is pretty awesome. And again, these are all electric too, which is pretty sweet. So you got lots of options with that 509, which kind of make it a top of the list for me, at least in terms of aesthetics and overall design. One of the big things, obviously, that we look at in any of the helmets that we're buying these days is huge for us as communicators. And the big selling feature for us this year to try the 509 was the fact that if you buy this helmet, it comes with an integrated Cardo system. And Cardo has been our kind of go-to choice for communications. They make really solid systems that work well. We love the fact that they can be used while they're charging. And I just think it was really smart for 509 to go out there, instead of trying to build their own, look at a partnership with a company that does it right. And that's definitely what Cardo does. So the integration of Cardo into this helmet was honestly fantastic. It worked really well. Does all the things that you would expect Cardo to do if you're a normal Cardo user, and was really great to sort of see that. On the Advex, again, you kind of heard I was a little disappointed that we actually had to purchase the Vibe system because it's not actually included. It's a really smart design, and they did partner up with Sina again. So again, BRP said, hey, we're not communications experts. Let's partner with a company that does it well. Sina is the other company that does it really well. And the actual comm system that they've built and designed, and the way that it fits and goes into the helmet. In fact, if you look, and we'll try to include a link for that video as well. When I did the initial impressions and opening the boxes and putting this together at the beginning of the year, they've done a really great job for how compact it is and how it all sort of integrates and fits into the helmet. Seamless, fantastic job, works really well. And I had some really interesting experiences. I'll talk about that in a second. But Sina is a great company, and this certainly worked really well in the Advex. And then obviously, for us on any of the other helmets, we went with a Cardo Edge, which we started using last year. So we upgraded from the Bold system. And the Cardo Edges work really well for any of these helmets, either on our Oxygens or on the Mission. It's a really simple system. It works well. You can plug it in and charge it all the time. We've never really had issues with Cardos. We find the battery life has been great with them. it's just a great system overall. And again, really easy to add to any helmet out there. So as far as, you know, comms and sort of technology, that's what we've been looking at kind of across the board with these helmets. Now, let's go into a little bit more detail on the Advex, because I did test this out this year, and there were some things I found out that, you know, weren't, I guess, what I was hoping for. And the one thing was I had thought that if you plug this helmet in with your electric visor connection or your link connection, that it would actually charge the helmet. And that's not the case. This helmet actually has a port on the back, which is where it plugs into the wall, or a USB charger, in order to actually charge that Vibe system. And you must charge it overnight. What it does is when you actually connect this to the sled, it maintains it. So it doesn't charge it, it maintains it. And I found that out one day because I got up in the morning, went to get out on the sled, and I went to go power up my communicator, and it was plugged in, and it works, and it turns on, it will work. But as soon as I got off the sled and shut the sled off, everything died. So if you want to use this properly, this system, you have to charge it, you know, the night before, make sure it's all charged up. And as it's plugged into the sled, it will maintain that charge. And then when you stop and you're, you know, with your group, or if you're stopped at the side of the trail, you still want your comms on, you still want to listen to music, whatever, this will still work. So that's the one thing that I did find with the Sena system that they've used. The other thing that was also really interesting, this is kind of funny, but in Valen, it will seamlessly connect to other users that have the Advex or the Vibe system automatically. There's no pairing required. It's actually kind of cool. So while I was riding down the trail, I remember all of a sudden hearing people English speaking in my helmet. And I was like, hey, it's Mike from Sledaddicz. And about 6 of them passed me. They all had Advexes, and I could hear them all talking. As soon as we got within range, it connected automatically. So kind of cool. You can change that setting by actually just switching channels. So they give you 7 or 9 different channels, I think, with the Sena system. So if you don't want that seamless connectivity, you can pick a channel. Like I chose channel 5, I think, halfway through the year. And typically nobody else is going to be on that channel at the same time, which kind of will give you your own mesh network. So that was pretty cool, and definitely worked really well. The one other thing that I will point out that's super important, and again, we talked about this on that other video, but the sound quality in the Oxygen and in the BRP helmet is fantastic, okay? It's just as good in the Advex as I expected it to be. They still use that, they still use kind of the big earmuffs on the inside, and you still hook it up exactly the same way as you would with the Oxygen. So the sound quality is fantastic, and it's also got that same sort of soundproofing quality when you close the front of the helmet and you clip it in. And I really, really love the work and effort I think the BRP is putting into these helmets to make them quiet. Now, is it as quiet as the Oxygen? It is not. This helmet has more airflow through it, and I think that's part of the reason why it's not as quiet. The quietest helmet by far when it comes to communicators is the Oxygen from the lot of these 4 helmets. And I think this would be the next one on the list, but it's still not as quiet as the Oxygen. So listening to tunes, you're cranking them up, or you're on your communicators, you're gonna get the best clarity and the least amount of external environmental noise with the Oxygen helmet. Pretty close to the same kind of experience with the Advex. I would say much less with these 2 helmets. Both the Mission and this new 509 helmet I find are a lot noisier. There's more airflow, more wind going through these helmets, and therefore you're sacrificing for quality of your communications and your music and media. So that was kind of a bit of a disappointment, I think, with the 509. And I will also add the other disappointment with this helmet specifically is the sound quality itself and the speakers that they're using. I thought it was going to be a high-end system like what they're using in these helmets, or even with the Cardo and the JBL setup. Is not the case with the 509. I was actually quite disappointed with the sound quality when I was listening to music. very, very flat sounding. Whereas I feel like when I'm riding with either my Cardo system with the JBL speakers, or even with this, this new Advex system with the Cena setup, the sound quality is amazing. And I am a huge music lover. I want really good sound quality in my helmet, and I felt like it was really disappointing with the 509 this year, and I was really hoping that it was actually going to be a lot better than it was. At one point I was honestly thinking about how can I cut and splice in maybe the JBL speakers that come with a Cardo system, you know, that could be better suited for music and for comms in this helmet. And that was certainly a big downfall for me. And you know, hopefully in the future they can maybe address it and get a better quality speaker in that helmet. So that takes care of you know, some of the comms and technology. One of the other things I will say is, you know, we were super disappointed and we struggled at the beginning to find out if this helmet would actually integrate with Cardo. It was a huge question mark, and we did some investigating. We talked to BRP. I spoke to actually one of the key communications and tech guys actually that I interviewed at the 2025 launch this year, and he said it's not going to happen. They'd never planned for it to happen. So these two systems will not communicate with each other, and that's a huge downfall for us because, again, a lot of folks in our group, Jesse's running, let's say, Cardo on his oxygen, and I want to be able to talk to him if I'm using an Advex. No can do, which was a bit of a disappointment for us. Obviously with the 509, it's Cardo, it's seamlessly connected to any other Cardo device. Kind of unfortunate, but it is what it is. And that's certainly the one thing that we just, you know, we weren't happy about with the Cena setup. As far as like temperature goes, that's like another big one. And when we evaluate helmets, everybody's different, but for me personally, and again, I've spoken about this in the past, when I ride, I'm an aggressive rider, I sweat. I sweat all the time. It doesn't matter if it's -30 or if it's +5, I'm always sweating. So for me, having really good airflow through the helmet and making sure that it's climatized and that it's a comfortable temperature for riding all day is super important. If you've ever had helmets where your head starts to get sweaty, you'll notice if you take that helmet off right away, you start to get itchy. Me and my dad actually have had that happen in the past, and it's super uncomfortable and really annoying when you're out there riding. And sometimes I used to kind of move my head around just to try to get rid of that itch or get rid of the sweat. The airflow in these helmets, totally different across the board. I would say one of the big surprising things for me initially when we got the oxygens was how hot they were, and I didn't like it, and I still don't like it. This is a super hot helmet. I sweat in it every time I wear it. And the only way to really get airflow, there's no venting in this helmet other than what comes through the bottom neck curtain here and the two vents that open up down here. I don't really find that it's noticeable. They've addressed that on the Advex, and this helmet is fantastic for airflow. You've got this nice big nose clip here that allows the air to push through the front nose piece of this helmet. And what I learned this year also at the 2025 show in speaking with Paul Prudhomme, kind of who runs all BRP accessories, is they've designed a new visor this year that you can now get for the oxygen to help with airflow. That is going to be key, and in my opinion, that's what's going to make this helmet that much more comfortable to wear now that you can actually get some airflow through it. So we're really looking forward to trying that new visor on our oxygen helmets. It looks very similar design to what they've done on the Advex, and that'll be available for us to all go out and purchase next year. So, you know, if I kind of go from hot to cold, this is definitely, you know, the hottest helmet, the warmest helmet you're going to wear. On the minus 25, 30 days, yeah, it's awesome. I would pick this from the bunch. I would say the coldest helmet from all of these helmets, again, was really surprised how cold this 509 helmet actually is. I'm not sure if it's the seal or if it's just the way that they've designed the venting for this helmet, but I always found that the top part of my my head was really cold, and even around kind of the face. I'm not sure what it is. This is just a much colder helmet to run. I think in the warmer days, I didn't notice it as much. And when I first was using this helmet in Valen at the beginning of the season, the temperatures were hovering around 0, and it was great. I didn't really notice it. Then I had one day where it was super cold, like -22, and I remember just feeling it on my face, top of my head. This is the coldest helmet from the bunch. It's also a little bit noisier, and again, I think that's just because the airflow that's happening through this helmet, there's a lot of it, and when you have a colder helmet, you have more airflow that's happening through there, it's going to be louder. And that's the case definitely with, I would say, with the Mission as well as the 509. This one, this Advex helmet, I would say perfect in terms of, for me, the amount of airflow and temperature wise around my head, this was perfect for me. I never really had to crack the visor. I always found myself doing it in Gas Bay. I did it quite a bit with the oxygen. I would just leave the bottom part so I can get some air through the bottom and up into the helmet. Never had to do that with the Advex helmet. This is out of the bunch for me, as far as temperature goes and what's suitable for me for riding. This helmet was spot on in terms of airflow, and you know, wasn't too hot, wasn't too cold, seemed to work at any temperature and was perfect. So hopefully that gives you just a little bit of insight, right, on how these helmets perform as far as temperature goes, because everybody is different. But that will at least give you a sense from kind of what's the warmest to what's probably going to be the coldest for you. So another topic that's super important is just kind of overall safety, and what we look at for that is, you know, the rear lights and snow dust. It's a big thing for us. And again, on the previous video, we talked a little bit about us, you know, having to add the rear LED lights to, we put the Bite Harder lights on the Mission helmet just because we needed something. It's super helpful to have this when you're riding in a pack and you can see everybody's helmet lights, because you can't see their tail lights in heavy snow dust. And this worked really well. We love the Bite Harder lights. All the other helmets will actually come with an integrated helmet. So the Advex is exactly the same as what you would get on the Oxygen. These two helmet lights are identical, same brightness. They look exactly the same. And this one is definitely kind of the cooler looking one. And 509, great job with their marketing. Call that the Chase light. Really, really super nice design for this one on the rear of their helmet. So, you know, it's pretty good. It's something that going forward, you know, we sort of expect it, but you can buy one if you need to with any helmet nowadays, and it's super important. One of the other things that we like to talk a lot about is our electric visor setups, and E-Link has obviously been a big win for us, you know, since Skidoo came out with that. And all of these helmets have electric visors, and they all work pretty well. What is cool, I think, and a big bonus with a lot of people really like with the Mission helmet is you don't need to plug this helmet in. For the most part, you can run it in any temperature. You'll never get fogging, or it might fog up right at the beginning. Once you get some airflow through the helmet, it unfogs right away. The BRP Oxygen and the Advex use the same magnetic clip that we're all used to, and I love it. I think it works really easily. You can do this with your gloves on and just, you know, go back there, and it attaches really easily to the helmet, which gives you power to the electric visor. Now, on the BRP Oxygen helmets, we had temperature controls, right? So you had 3 settings on this particular controller, and you could adjust, you know, from low, medium to high as far as how much heat you wanted to put out to that visor. You can't do that. The Advex helmet does not come with the same type of controller. It's just a standard RCA plug, or plug this right into your E-Link cord, and it doesn't really allow for temperature control. Did I really notice it as far as like a big difference? Not really. It just seemed to work. So I don't really, you know, feel like there was a need for it. And that's probably why Skidoo got rid of this in the first place. I think part of it was just because the oxygen helmet is so sensitive to temperature, you really do notice it when you have this controller running and you're on a high setting. It also puts heat up into kind of the top part of this helmet, so there's kind of heat everywhere going on in this helmet, which is probably why they had a controller on it in the first place. You'll see, if you try one of these Advexes out, there's a huge space here on the top, and that's a vent, and it's always there, and it just allows a little bit of air going through there at all times. And I think that's just partial to the overall design of this helmet, and it just not needing maybe multiple settings to control the heat as much in the helmet. So that worked really well. I will say that I love the 509 design, and I talked about this again in one of our videos. It's the same sort of RCA hookup, but they've got kind of an interesting design for how it plugs into the helmet here, and I showed it on one of the videos, but this is really smart. It just pushes in and then it clips in. So you push, turn, and then it's sort of locked in there, and that plugs right into the back of the cardo, and again, it charges everything. So that worked really well. Never had any issues with fogging in this helmet. The electric visor just worked fantastic. And again, I mentioned this a little bit, but I love the fact that you can buy these different color visors, and they come all, they're all electric. So you plug these in, you still have that ability. Whereas with this one, that's not the case with the Mission. So I love the look of the smoke shield, and it's nice because again, you can kind of tint it out if it's a really sunny day and wear this. If you ever did happen to need it, not saying you do with this helmet, but if you did happen to, run into, for example, like a day where you're getting freezing rain, that's a day when you want electricity running through your visor. You can't get it with the Mission. So again, probably not a huge deal, but certainly something to think about. I would say the last area that I really wanted to cover was, warranty and customer service. And it's funny, like we know folks, throughout the community that friends of ours that are running these helmets, and some have had issues with the Mission helmets. And I think I talked a little bit about the customer service with them. One of our buddies specifically had a tough time trying to get a visor warranted. He had a problem with it and really just took way too long. Had to go through way too many hoops to actually get a visor for it. With BRP, and we have had our issues, and I think we've talked a little bit about them in the past. When this helmet first came out, first year, I think everybody was going through shields until they figured that issue out. I think Jesse went through like a half a dozen shields. We never have an issue. You just go into the dealer, you speak to your dealer, and they put in the warranty, and boom, like you're done. Super, super simple. Now, I did have 2 issues with my Advex this year, and I had one of the clips that attaches to the cheek pad. It actually cracked because it was super cold that morning, and I was playing around with it, and it cracked. No issues whatsoever. It was warranted. It was warranted through BRP. We never have to worry. I always think that they truly do stand behind their products, and the customer service, as long as you're working with a great dealer, it's super easy, and you never have to think twice. So I had, that one issue with the cheek pad, and that was it, really. I had no other kind of major issues or concerns with this helmet. It just flat out worked really well, and I enjoyed running it. So, we've seen some challenges with warranty and customer service with the CKX stuff. And unfortunately, we had a similar incident this year with some folks that we know. They had issues with their 509 Delta this year, and we're back and forth with 509. I think eventually it got sorted out, but I think there were some concerns just with how the situations were being dealt with initially. Hopefully that's improved, because again, 509's been around a long time. They're very well known in the sledding world. So hopefully that's improved, and hopefully it's not too tough to deal with if you do need to get parts or need to get things warranted with their helmets. So that's just sort of the experience I think that we've had. Me personally, and Jesse with BRP, and then, you know, we haven't really had any issues with the CKX stuff, and really no issues with 509, but just from other folks that we know who are running similar style helmets, and feedback that we've heard from them, you know, we thought it was important to mention to you guys. And again, it's pretty important with such a short season. You want to make sure that, you know, whatever happens with your helmet, if something were to happen, that it gets covered and it's dealt with pretty quickly and efficiently. So, you know, that's an important thing to consider. So again, overall, guys, I really just wanted to give you as much background and info as I could on these helmets. I think it's pretty awesome to see all of these companies really pushing the envelope in terms of design and innovation with snowmobile helmets, and I'm sure it's going to go, you know, even to the next level over the coming years. It's really nice that they give us all, you know, some of the different options out there and some of the different choices, but hopefully, you know, you don't have to go through the process of buying them, because we're sled addicts and we're nuts. So we bought them all just to try them all, and then hopefully give you guys some really good information to help you make your own informed choices and decisions about what helmet is going to work best for you. If you guys have any questions at all, you know, you can reach out to myself, Mike at Sledaddicz.com, or Jesse at Sledaddicz.com. We're happy to answer any questions that you might have. If you want to chat with us, give us a call. We're happy to talk to you. Hopefully this is a great video for you guys and gives you some of the information that you were looking for around some of these newer helmets, specifically the Advex and the 509 Delta this year. And appreciate you guys watching as always. I hope you guys had a stellar riding season. For those of you that are still riding, you're lucky. I'm packing it away for the season, and time to switch gears to fishing. But it's been an awesome season so far. And again, hope you guys enjoyed this helmet review video, and we'll see you on the next one.